Hi guys, this is JP from FSiPanel. Welcome to this new video where I will fly with you the training scenario number 6, which is a scenario from San Juan, Puerto Rico to St-Maarten and with some severe hydraulic malfunction. Today I will be using the beautiful 737 Max8, just released a couple of weeks ago by iFly, so we'll be able to test her completely as we will have an isolated pack start as it's very hot outside. We will do some holdings, we have some malfunctions, and finally a non-precision approach. So we'll be able to test how she performs and see how good she is. I'm looking forward as this is a beautiful aircraft, and knowing iFly since a long time, I'm sure that the aircraft is performing very well. So let's start this training scenario. So I just loaded the aircraft now in San Juan at gate G12 as per the lesson plan. By the way, you find all the training scenarios in the forum right now. So just head up to the forum, then go to your simulator, in that case P3D, then training scenarios, select your aircraft, and then finally take the scenario and you have the zip file. The zip file has the following structure. Let me show you that. In the zip file, you will find the lesson plan and the scenario itself. So this is the lesson plan that you get for the scenario. You can see that we have a short 40-minute trip with some hydraulic malfunction. This is the initial setup you need to do in your simulator. So we need to start our airplane at Tango Juliet Sierra Juliet at gate G12. We will depart from runway 08, and as for the weather, we can use active sky or FSiPanel weather engine. In both cases, FSiPanel will manage the weather, so you don't have to select any weather. As for the aircraft weight and fuel, this is the weight that we have to set for our aircraft. This is to match our flight plan and to make sure the performance that I have calculated for you are correct. So very easy to do. Now if I go on my cockpit here, in my cockpit, sorry, you can see that we have full tanks. The aircraft is not at all as expected. So we will change that in a minute. Then this is our clearance. Finally, you will get the weather. You can see that we depart from runway 08 with some wind slight on the axis, with light rain, cloudy sky, 29 degrees. So because of the 29 degrees, today we will do an isolated pack engine start. So that's to give our passengers some air during the pushback. And that's what we do when we have hot condition. 29 is still acceptable, but if you have a full house like today, then people are, it might become very hot in the cabin. So we will do that together. And reaching finally St-Maarten, then we will do the RNAV 10. We have a wind slightly from the left, light showers of rain. Right, so let's follow the procedures. So we start active sky, or not if you're using FSiPanel. So now active sky in my case is started. I'm in live weather mode, so you don't need to change anything there, just start active sky. Then we start P3D at parking G12 or any other parking in the main terminal. Make sure the aircraft is electrically powered on APU, GPU, or engines running. So if we look there, we are on the APU, so everything is good. Let me check that. Yes, we are on the APU and we are electrically powered. One other thing to make sure is that you have your IRS aligned, which is the case right now. And then we can continue our setup. Set the weight as shown on page 1. So let's do that. So I will take that here, and nothing easier than that. Just grab the iFly configuration tool, and then we just need to press the button here, 3/4 full. I want full cargo. And now I need to set my fuel as there. So total fuel 27%. And now we are looking for the zero fuel weight around 65 tons. So if it doesn't match like that, just click again, 3/4 full. And now we have about 65 tons. And if I look down here, my takeoff weight is 70.3. And here I have 71, so a little bit more. So I could remove some passengers just to match what we have here, 70.3. So this is important for the performance calculation. So right now 70.3 and 70.3 we are clear to go. So I will update the 737, and now if I go in my cockpit I should have 5.5 tons of fuel. This is perfect. As of now everything is ready for us to start our scenario. There is nothing in the FMC, there is nothing in the modes. So let's go ahead and continue our setup. So I've done this, I'm starting FSiPanel now, and I will start the scenario. So let's start FSiPanel. All right, here we are in San Juan. Runway 08 is the closest runway. And finally, the iFly 737 Max8 has been detected. So now I need to import my training scenario. So I will take my scenario file and drag and drop it over main window like this. And now I will get the message, do you want to add the scenario to your database? Yes, scenario added to your database, that's done. And now we can start our training scenario. So let's do that. I take FSiPanel, I go select fix, scenario, and then I find my hydraulic malfunction scenario, that's the one I want. I click on it. Here I have the session instruction notes. So if I need them, they are still available. That's exactly that file that I showed you before, where you have everything, all the procedure to start the scenario. One thing there, you will have a lot of tips in the following pages. If you don't want to read them now, just go ahead and fly, but that has some trap, so it's probably a good idea if you're not too familiar with 737 to read everything. It will give you some instructions about the taxi, about the climb, some malfunctions that we will have. You will have some hints for the descent, for the holding patterns, and finally at the end we have the ATC flight plan, sorry about that, the OFP. All right, so we are ready. So I will go to FSiPanel again, and I will just click on Start Training. The first thing that will happen is the weather will be set by FSiPanel. So if I take Active Sky now, you see that automatically FSiPanel has set the date to 26th of December, and at the correct date that will correspond to the weather that we have in our training scenario. So nothing to do here. And here FSiPanel is waiting for 20 seconds for all the conditions to be met. And once this is done, you can see now the cockpit is prepared for you, the FMC, the modes. So we just have to wait here. And this is very important, not to touch anything. Just wait until you get your first ATC instructions. So this is the first ATC instructions. We are ready to fly. FSI 001, clear for pushback. When ready, taxi holding point runway 08, and we have our weather. Right, so now we are all set. As you can see, I have everything done. So if I look at my overhead panel now, everything has been set properly. We have the forward pump here running because the APU is running. Everything is set properly. You can cross-check everything if you want. We have the cruising altitude. We have the landing altitude in St-Maarten. If I look down in my pedestral, I have the squawk as per ATC, and I have the correct nav setting here. This is the VOR of San Juan on both sides, and this is St-Maarten. And the performance have been entered into our FMC. We have a message insufficient fuel, and this is probably due to the vectors here, as we don't know, the aircraft doesn't know how long you will stay on vectors. So if you stay 5 minutes on the heading 060 or half an hour, it changed the fuel. So don't worry about that message. We have the correct fuel as per the flight plan. That will disappear as soon as we get airborne. So for takeoff, always go to takeoff page on the pilot flying side. And now you have your speed 130, 141, 149. The speeds are like this because the runway is wet. This is why V1 and V-rotate are not the same. It's not a balanced takeoff. We have a lowest V1. All right, so now everything is set. We are ready to fly. So we can use GS6 to request the pushback. And let's go ahead. As you can see, we are not too far from the runway. Let me try to zoom out here a little bit. You see the runway is right there. So we are going to push back as per the instruction. We will push back facing west. In that case, a very short taxi, and we go airborne. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm happy with my instructions. Always make sure when you fly a training scenario to read the instruction, do the action if you need, and when everything is clear, close the ATC window. All right, so let's call GS6 and request pushback. Prepare for pushback and departure. All right, in the meantime, we're gonna do the before start flow. So the before start flow on the 737 is quite easy. For me, I always teach to remember 4 items, 4 actions to be done. We set the fuel pumps. If you have more than 453 kilos of, or 900 pounds, if I'm not wrong, of center tank fuel, then you switch on the pumps of the center tanks. Then you continue up here. You make sure that the seatbelt sign is on. Then we will make sure that we can pressurize hydraulic with the ground. Finally, we come down here and we set the anti-collision light to on. So this is one item, 2 item, hydraulic, and finally anti-collision light. So 4 items to be done. Now we are basically ready for pushback. One more thing, on some airport, now it's most of the airport, take your transponder to transponder mode. All right, we'll be ready for push in a second, and we will be pushing facing west to have a short taxi to our runway, and we will be using this procedure that you are showing now that I'm showing you on your screen. This procedure is isolated pack operating during engine start, so I will bring it again once we are ready to start the engine, and you will see how that works. All right, so now I see that the pushback truck is getting connected to the aircraft. That looks good. We are almost ready to push back. Let's wait for the instruction. Locking gear, perfect. And so we want the nose to the right, tail to the left. Release parking brake. Here we go. And push back. Perfect. So all engines cleared. So let's do the engine start. All right, engine start. We need to cut the packs. So now the APU is bringing the air over the 2 packs. And on ground, we always set the isolation valve to open so that we can provide air to both packs. So for engine start, we just turn off the pack. And now we are ready to start number 2. Number 2 to ground. And now we can see that N2 is moving. We will get motoring, most probably, on the max. If you don't get motoring, no issues, that's fine. If you get motoring, you have to wait until motoring goes away and you have 25% N2, or N2 is not increasing anymore. So let's wait for that. Now we see that it's still motoring. You can bring that here, it's probably easier to see. Motoring still increasing, N2, now it's gone. I have 25. I can bring the fuel. When we bring the fuel, we'll see fuel flow and light up. Fuel flow, we have a light up. Increase of N1 and N2, this is what you monitor. The low oil pressure will go away as the oil pressure is out of the amber band. And on the max, you have to wait for 63% N2 and the starter should cut out. So now you saw that the oil pressure is gone. We are reaching 63%. You will hear starter cut out, and the first officer will call starter cut out, not when the switch is off, but when the light goes away, because the switch sometimes doesn't go off, or if it goes off but the light stays on, you have a problem. All right, let's set the parking brake as instructed. And now we're gonna start engine number 2. So now your passengers are very hot because we turned off the pack. So let's do that procedure that I'm showing you right now. So what we need to do here, if we read together, this is engine number 2 start. We've done it. Then we have to do isolation valve switch to close. So when I close that, then I isolate the air from the APU to the pack number 2, right? Then I can set the right pack to automatic. So now my passengers are getting air from the right engines directly to the right pack, but that air cannot go to the other side. Perfect. And now I can check my duct pressure and I can start the engine number 1. So now if you have a long pushback or you have to wait for ground services or whatever, this is the right thing to do. Then your passengers will be very happy. All right, so we can start now number 1. So ground, and we're gonna use exactly the same procedure. N2 is increasing. So 25% N1 and monitoring gone. Then this is the time to set your fuel on. So right now we have to wait. Motoring. Suddenly you will see an increase of N2 acceleration and motoring will go away. Now she's motoring the engine. And now you can see an increase, 25, motoring is gone, fuel. Now that we have fuel, we're gonna have a fuel flow, light up, N2 increasing, N1 increasing, oil pressure increasing. Low oil pressure will go away as soon as the oil pressure, is I think 13 psi, if I'm not wrong. Let's see that. 10, okay. I think on the aircraft is 13, doesn't matter, it's good. And then we are waiting for 63%. And if we look up, you see that the engine start switch goes to off, but we are waiting for that light, and now we can start a cutout. Perfect. So I will just tell these guys on the ground that we have a good engine start, and now we can go ahead with the after start procedure. So now the first officer does the after start procedure, very straightforward as well. We start by the electrics, so we want to make sure generator 1 is on the bus, generator 2 is on the bus. Now we go up, we make sure the probe are on. Now you go down to your air conditioning, so now we need to set pack number 1, left pack, to auto. The isolation valve goes to auto, and now we have the 2 bleeds on. We don't need anymore the APU bleed, so we'll turn it off. Now we continue down, we don't need the APU anymore, so the APU goes off. And then we just want to make sure we are on continuous and continuous on the engine start. And that's it. Now what we do, we check the engine parameters. So everything looks good on both engines. Then we can go and cancel the engine display here just to have the basic. And now we click on the recall just to make sure we don't have any master caution. All right, we get the clear signal, perfect. Now you will ask for your flaps. So here we are departing flaps 5, as you can see right there. And it's the good time as well to check that we have 5.4 into our trim right there. All right, so flaps are moving to 5, and we will do the flight control check, but in the simulator it doesn't really matter, so forgive me about that. I would not do the flight control check. We are ready to go. Flaps 5, left side is clear, right side is clear. We are ready for taxi, so usually we just switch the taxi light on and we go ahead, straight ahead as instructed for the holding point runway 08. So let's go ahead. Normally a little bit of thrust is required. Remember, maximum 40% on ground. The aircraft will start moving, and then once you have a correct taxi speed, 10 to 15 knots is a good start, then you can go basically idle and the aircraft will continue to roll to the runway. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, here we go. Taxi is very nice on the aircraft, no issue. Let's see if I can bring that up, down. Okay, perfect. Sometimes flying, you know, P3D and then MSFS, you have to adjust yourself, adapt yourself to the buttons and everything you need to press for the views. Not that easy. All right, so before takeoff, flaps 5, green light, stabilizer trim is 5.4, that's set, and the cabin is ready. So we are ready for departure. So we taxi our airplane and we should get our takeoff clearance very soon. So always when you fly a training scenario, do not do any action. Do not line up the runway if you're not clear for that. If you're asked to go in a holding, go in the holding even if you're ready for the approach, because otherwise the training scenario will not understand why you are not at the position you are expected to be. So always follow the ATC instructions. That's very important. All right, we are reaching our takeoff runway, and what we are doing, let's have a quick review of the SID. So this SID is basically turn left on heading 060 for vectors to intercept later on Sierra Juliet uniform radial 080. This is why we have 080 right there. And then we expect vectors to jets. Maintain 5,000 feet. We have 5,000 feet. Perfect. All right, so with that done, we can now arm LNAV and VNAV, and we get clear lineup and takeoff runway 08, wind 070 at 16 knots. Here they tell us passing 1,000 feet, turn left heading 060, so that's a revised ATC clearance. So basically we don't want any more LNAV, so I will deselect LNAV as I need to wait 1,000 feet for my left turn. All right, so I have read my instructions. I'm happy with them. I can clear them. So we are clear for takeoff and passing 1,000 feet, left heading 060. So now we're gonna do the before takeoff flow. So here what we do, lights. Then we're gonna put the strobe light to steady. Tell the cabin that we are departing. And finally, set your transponder to TA array all the way down. And now we are ready. Everything is done. Let's go. I think I did a TCAS test by mistake. Not a big deal. Now the pilot flying choose if he wants weather or terrain. So I will take the weather on my side. My first officer will take the terrain. We make sure that we are at the right runway, especially if you have intersections, and we have computed our takeoff performance from an intersections. Now we are going full length, so I can see the sign here 8, so that's correct. Approaching 08, perfect. And if we look to the left, approach is clear. We are clear for lineup, so let's go ahead and line up. We are even clear for takeoff, so we will do a takeoff. And remember your departure, left turn 060, passing 1,000 feet, we climb 5,000. We expect further ATC instructions, so that's good. So runway 08 identified, we check the heading, that the heading is correct, everything looks good, and we are clear for takeoff. All right, takeoff. So 40% N1. We have engine stabilize. We press toga, and now we have N1 toga set takeoff thrust. So now we check that the right thrust is set by the auto throttle. We are aiming for 90.4. Takeoff thrust set, 80 knots throttle hold. V1, rotate. Here we go. Positive rate, gear up. Enough speed. 400 feet, select heading. So now we select lateral mode, in that case heading cell. (1,000 feet, heading 060. Let's go to the left. And we are going to use our autopilot command. So I have N1 VNAV speed, and I'm going on the heading 060. You can see the aircraft is accelerating toward flaps 1, so I can go flaps 1. Now we have to wait until the flaps are 1 to make sure that works properly. We have flaps 1. Now we are moving toward up. I can go flaps up. Okay, FSiPanel 001, climb, flight level 900. So that's what I meant. Set your altitude 900. Then I can acknowledge my instructions. Flaps up, no light. Now we'll do the after takeoff flow. So the 3 lights here, we don't need them anymore. We don't need anymore the engine start, switch to continuous, except if you are in icing condition. And finally, only one more thing on the max, the auto brake goes to off. Perfect, we got some weather there. I hope we get a right turn very soon. So let's see that. So now we are on heading 060 and we get FSI 001, turn right heading 120. Okay, heading 120. And she turns, perfect, and intercept Sierra Juliet uniform radial 080 to jets. Okay, so we have radial 080, so now I could basically arm Vorlock, but this is less precise. So what I will do it with my FMC, sorry. So what I do, legs, we put jets on top, so that will be a direct to jets, but the clearance is 080, we have it here, so 080 and execute. So now if you look in your map, you can see that this is the 080 inbound to jets. We are steady on the heading 120. Now I can arm LNAV. So now you have LNAV armed. The aircraft is flying on 120 until it intercepts the 080 toward jets. 1000 to level off. We can reduce the rate of climb. And we are expecting further clearance, hopefully, as we need to climb. We have some weather. Temperature is still above 10 degrees, so no need for anti-ice. We are good. So alt acquired, aircraft maintains 250 as we are below 10,000 feet. That is perfect. All right. So now you can see that we are reaching the radial. So soon the aircraft should start its left turn. So we should see LNAV becoming active. LNAV captured should occur, and that's it. LNAV captured. Always follow with the heading now. So the heading is about 080, and we are established on the radial. Let's increase a little bit our range, and we can see that jets is in front of us. Perfect. That's our flight plan now. Now we are just expecting clearance for further climb, maybe some traffic, we don't know, but we cannot climb without ATC instructions, so always follow the training scenario. 900 for now, and we are in altitude hold. We are waiting for the next instruction. Beautiful aircraft. Nicely done. All right, ATC. Oh, good. FSI 001 climb level 150. So I will set 150. Oh, okay. All right, 150. Can I do that? Now it's the zoom. Okay, finally. 150. And we need to select a vertical mode. So let's go VNAV. We check N1. VNAV speed 150, I can acknowledge the message. So now the aircraft will start climbing. N1 is set by the auto throttle. Here we go. I realized that if I move my thrust, as I just done now, then finally the auto throttle is not able to maintain it properly. So let me try disconnect the auto throttle. I go manual thrust toward N1, and then we will try it again. Okay, so we are climbing perfectly well. I don't know where I should put my thrust levers, in fact, when I have the auto throttle. So let's see. Now we have climb 2. I will try the auto throttle and see if now she's able to maintain. Yes, perfect. So now we are good. I wanted to touch my thrust lever, was not a good idea. All right, so now 10,000 feet, we start accelerating. We don't need anymore the lights. And we check the pressurization at 10,000 feet to make sure that we are pressurizing correctly. If everything is good, as you can see there, no issues, we can continue, and that's it. 10,000 feet done. We will leave the passengers seated as we are in cloud, so no need now to rush into the seatbelt sign. It's a short flight anyway. I don't think there is any service on that kind of flight. Maybe for business class, but I think your cabin crew will prefer if you let them seated in these weather conditions. All right. Temperature, always have a look from time to time that we are not going below 10 degrees with visible moisture. Right now we are fine, so we don't need anti-ice. All right, 12,000. By the way, the training scenario was wrong there because it was telling us to climb flight level 900, and the transition altitude is flight level. It's 18,000 feet in San Juan, so that's a mistake. I have to change it. All right, so we are passing now 13,000 feet, approaching jets. And our final altitude is flight level 190, so we should get further climb anytime soon. I'm reaching now 150, so good. Climb flight level 190, so I can go ahead and climb 190. 190 set. I'm still on VNAV speed. I can acknowledge my message. All right, here we are out of cloud and it looks good, so I will release my passengers. So let's go with the fasten seatbelt sign to auto. Good. Jets, we will continue our flight toward St-Maarten. Some weather here, but we should be above it, so no issues there. There I can put here, we will put Lex page. And turning right. Okay, always follow with your heading bug. And it's a short flight. You can see top of descent already there. So we will start preparing our approach into St-Maarten. All right. So St-Maarten, we are expecting a RNAV approach runway 10. So that's the approach that we will fly, coming from Avaki to Lizor, and then we will have a descent toward our minimum. So we will brief that and set up our aircraft. Okay, FSI 001. You cannot see it, sorry. I have to remove the chart. We just got a message. Be advised, Tango Juliet Sierra Juliet is closed for the next 30 minutes due to VIP traffic. Okay, standard. We are reaching 19,000 feet. Don't forget your altimeter setting. Okay, so now we have an information that our alternate or origin airport is closed for the next 30 minutes. Okay, no issues, as we have a flight of around half an hour, and then if we fly back, it will be open. So if we divert from St-Maarten, no issue, we can fly back there, but for now we cannot go back. All right, done. So VNAV path 190, all set. Let's have a look at our approach now. So if I bring the approach plate again, we can see that we have RNAV GNSS runway 10. Then we will be coming from Avaki there. Then Lussor. At Lussor, 1,700 feet, we will start a descent. As you can see, we have a 3 degrees glide path down to our minimum, which is 700. So we will add another 50 as per most of the airline procedures to make sure we are not boosting this 700. So what we will do is set the minimum to 750. So let's go barrel and 750. 750, my minimum is set in case of missed approach, and this is very important because you have terrain in front of you. So if we don't see the runway at the minimum, climbing right turn 4000 direct to on bed and hold as directed by ATC. So if we have a look into our FMC, let's have a look there. Missed approach point, on bed, and flight level 140 below. For us, it's 4,000 feet and all. So we will fly 4,000 feet and we go to the holding. Perfect. So this is done. Oh, in the meantime, we got a master caution. So let me bring out the approach plate now and let's have a look what is happening just now. We have a master caution. Let's see overhead what we have. We have low pressure on the hydraulic electrical pump 2. So when you have this kind of malfunction, hydraulic, it is a good idea to click on system, and then you can see there, I don't know if I can bring that. Okay, system, let me zoom to show you. Here you can see that we still have pressure, we still have liquid, but we just have a pump that is giving us some issues. All right, no problem. Cancel the caution and we will bring the checklist. All right, so this is the thing we have. We have a low pressure, so we just need to switch off the affected side pump. So, all right, easy. I will turn it off. And loss of an engine-driven hydraulic pump. This is not our case. It's not the engine-driven. This is the engine-driven. So the notes is irrelevant. We can say end of the QRH. Good. We are clear to continue. Let's continue our preparation. We will set auto brake 2. We have our minimum. We have our approach. Everything is briefed. The nav setting, I will set my course here to 096. 096. What did I do here? I press by mistake the altitude hold. So FMC speed VNAV path. We will set 096. Okay, I have some trouble with my view. I'm sorry guys about that. Okay. 096, 096. And now we will just switch the VORs to destination. So now we have a DME that shows it's not, oh yeah, it is 98 miles to destination to the VOR. Perfect. All right, so far so good. We just have a small hydraulic malfunction. So now what we will do when we have that is assess the situation. Can we continue the flight or is there any major issue? Right now we have PSI, the checklist, the QRH didn't tell us to divert, didn't tell us any problem. So everything is basically working on the remaining engine-driven pump. So no need to worry about it. We just need some maintenance actions at destination. So we might now inform our company by ACARS radio, so they know we have an issue with the aircraft already. But for now, there is no reason to worry about that. We just have a redundancy problem as we lost one of our backup pump for the hydraulic system A. Right, so far so good. We can continue our flight and we are reaching our top of descent. We have checked our approach plate, we've done our briefing, and we will set our approach speed. Right, so we are landing with flaps 30, so I set my approach speed. We have checked our everything, we are ready for that approach. So now top of descent is coming. I'm expecting ATC hopefully to give me descent clearance. Let's see, I hope. Very nice. Cloudy sky today. That's good. When we practice, it's always good to have a cloudy sky. Otherwise, you know, you can navigate a VFR. So always expect some bad weather if you go in a simulator. All right, top of descent is coming. All right, ATC, please give us a descent. We need to descend. Soon the FMC will tell us that we need to descend, so we'll get the reset MCP altitude. That should come just before top of descent. You can see now that we are 8 miles from computed top of descent. So hopefully we will get our descent clearance very soon. If not, not a big deal. You can go back to your path, and maybe that's the trap. Now be careful if you don't get a takeoff, a top of descent, a descent clearance there. That happens sometimes because of traffic, or ATC cannot let you descend. So that's it. If we pass top of descent, we have to then descend with a higher rate and go back to your path. So you see now the message reset MCP altitude. I would love to, but I haven't been cleared, so I cannot do it by myself, so I have to wait. Maybe you will beg again ATC, you need to descend, but if you don't get the takeoff clearance, don't do anything. Right, let's see what's happening. We are in VNAV path, as you can see right there, so that means the aircraft is ready to follow the descent, and we are reaching our top of descent. We don't have ATC clearance, right? So what to do? Just wait, and hopefully we will get it. Right now. When ready, descent level 110. So perfect. I will set 110, and once 110 is set, always check your modes. VNAV path, that means the aircraft will descend. If you pass your top of descent and you didn't start descent, like now, then the aircraft will go in VNAV alt. And then once you set 110, you need to descend. Either vertical speed, in that case I will go level change, it's better. Then you will descend, and once you are in your profile, just arm VNAV again and check that you have VNAV path. This is what we want to see. Right. When ready, descend 110, expect RNAV 10, that's what we do. Starting descent, I will sit the cabin so they can get ready for the approach. And we are going down. So now transition altitude in St-Maarten is flight level 65, as you can see right there on the just below the go around. You can see the 65. So if we check in our FMC, you go to VNAV, forecast, and this is flight level 65. Perfect. So we don't need to worry about it. We should get a message, standard will become member, and that it's a good reminder. What you can do in the meantime is make sure you go in hectopascal, because it's gonna be hectopascal in St-Maarten. And if we look in our lesson plan for the weather, let's see what was the weather in TNCM. We're expecting 1018. So I will preset 1018 already. So then when I change to local barometric setting, then I will have 1018 right away. All right, descending, everything looks good. My speed is a bit high, but I still have margin. I didn't have any speed restriction from ATC. So here it's up to you whether you want to extend your speed brake, but that makes noise and vibration for the passengers. If you have no restrictions, what's the point? I mean, you see she's descending very nicely. In idle thrust, your auto throttle is armed, and you have a good margin to an overspeed. So here, myself, I would just let her glide on the path. I don't need to add some some noise and break the speed, as we don't have any ATC instruction. If ATC will ask you to reduce the speed, now you need to reduce at least 1 knot per second to reach your target speed or assigned speed by ATC. All right, so we are continuing our descent. Everything looks good so far. And we are going to juice. After juice, we'll go Avaki. And from Avaki, we're expecting to fly the approach. So everything good. So far, so good. But as you know, FSiPanel is there to entertain you and to make sure you learn something about your aircraft. So most probably, we are not going to have an easy ride to St-Maarten. Something is going to happen, but we don't know when. So be ready. If you read before flying the lesson plan, and if you look at that video, then you will for sure know what's happening. But it's still a good training session, because you will see how to deal with severe hydraulic malfunction. And by the way, I forgot to tell you that to celebrate the release of the iFly, I will talk about it in a couple of minutes. We have something more important, so let's go and prioritize our action. We have a master caution again. Oh, autopilot has disconnected. So when that happened, all right, try to engage maybe the other side autopilot. And now it seems to be working. So command, and we are in the right mode. Now FSiPanel pan copied, descend level 70, Avaki and hold. Okay, let's go 70. And Avaki and hold as published. Okay, we will do that in a second. Let's see what is our issue. All right, I have a low pressure light again on the hydraulic. It's on the same side. So now do not bring that checklist, because that checklist is for one light. Now we have something more severe. So before we go into the checklist, make sure we comply with the ATC. So Avaki and hold as published. So let's go to legs page, hold. I cannot enter a hold, so I go to next hold. I take Avaki, I put it there. And now let's have a look at the holding in Avaki. So you can see that it's a 0.95 inbound with right turn. So 0.95 right turn, and it's a 4 nautical miles leg, 4 nautical miles execute. Now my hold, is there, and I can concentrate now on my problem. We are reaching 10,000 feet and we have an issue. So let's bring the checklist. The right checklist, guys, for that is this one. As you can see now, we have loss of system A because we have the 2 lights. As you can see right there, we've got the 2 lights on, and as well you can see low pressure on flight control A. So that's the situation we have. And if we want to cross-check that as well, what we can do is go to system right there. Let's try to open that. It doesn't want. Okay, no problem. So if I zoom here, you can see that now the problem is we have quantity of hydraulic in system A to 0. So I know already I will have no chance to recover that. I will have a complete loss of hydraulic system A, no chance. All right, so let's complete that checklist and see what are the important points there. 10,000 feet, we just set the lights on here. They acknowledge our pan call, we are clear 70. All right, let's go ahead. System A, flight control switch, confirm standby rudder. So we go System A, flight control, confirm with your first officer, and we go to standby rudder is on. Then System A, hydraulic pump switch, both off. Right, so these two, both off. We've got an ATC instruction, FSiPanel, descend 4,000 feet, B level by Avaki, QNH 1018. All right, so 4,000 feet. That's the flight control. We just did the checklist. That's why we get that message. Level by Avaki seems to be good. And QNH 1018 is confirmed. So acknowledge. All right, let's continue that checklist. Check the non-normal configuration landing distance. You can assume this is done. Now the nose wheel steering switch, that's very important. because the nose wheel steering is on system A. So if you don't switch your nose wheel steering right there to alternate, then you will not be able to taxi the airplane after landing. So make sure you do that as well. And then plan for a manual gear extension. All right. So now you can see the note here, which is very important. When the gear is lowered manually with the manual gear extensions, then you cannot retract that landing gear. We have no fluid anymore. So basically now we might not reach or alternate. So at this stage, before flying this approach, you have to make sure you can land. Is the weather good enough? And what if I have to go around? Can I try again? If you go around because you're not stabilized, it is your fault. You have another chance, no issue. But if you go around due to bad weather, then do you have enough fuel to go to you alternate? So the FMC will not compute that at all. So what you see in the fuel prediction on the FMC are based on the aircraft fully capable, and this is not the case. So guys, be sure that when you lower your landing gear, you can land, right? Perfect. So now we know that we're gonna have to do a manual gear extension. We are approaching our transition, so I will go to local barometric 1018 on both sides, and I'm reading 6.6. My first officer 6.6. We are good. All right, let's continue the checklist. Next, as you can see, autopilot A is inop, but autopilot B is available. That's why we have autopilot B. Some spoilers are not available. Then the normal landing gear extension and retraction is not working, so we need to use the manual gear extension. Then we have some alternate brake and ground spoiler inop. The thrust reverser on number 1 has pressure but will take more time. And finally, you see the normal nose wheel steering is inoperative. As we are now flying with a malfunction, we will use that checklist instead of the normal checklist. So let's go. The descent checklist, precision landing altitude was set at 0 already. Recall, now if I press recall, we have flight control. This is the standby rudder. If we check up there, we're gonna have standby rudder on, field differential pressure, and the low pressure. This is all expected, so we make sure that it's expected and that we don't have something new. Then we continue with the auto brake. We have set auto brake to 2, and finally landing data. We have VREF at 145 and the minimum is 750. Done. After that, what do we have? Approach briefing was completed, 1000 to level off. Now we get a message, reduce speed to 10 knots. Okay. So to reduce the speed, I can go speed intervene, and I will reduce to 10. Be careful, do not go below up speed. If ATC tell you reduce speed to 10, fine, but do not go, if they will tell you 200, try to request 210, because we don't want to add drag if we don't know that we can lower the gear and fly the approach. Any drag penalty is not good for us at that time. So 210, that's perfect. It's less fuel, that's up speed, is the most economical speed right now, so perfect. Just go up speed and you are good. You see that I left 212, that's good. All right, so now let's continue this thing. Approach checklist altimeter is set to 1018, perfect. And then we have the manual gear extensions when we are ready. So we'll do that when we are ready. Then we continue to the additional deferred item. So now we have the ground proximity runway inhibit switch to runway inhibit. All right. So those switch are right there. So we have VNAV alt, we are approaching our holding pattern. Those switch are right down there. So what they want is the runway inhibit switch to inhibit. That's done. And finally, the next checklist we have is the landing checklist. All right, so now this is the manual gear extension. You can use this checklist, but as you can see there, it's not very detailed. So usually I prefer to take that checklist because it has some very important information. First of all, if a green landing light is illuminated on either of that indication or up there, here. If any of these light is illuminated, so if this one is illuminated but not the one on the center console, that means my left landing gear is down and locked. So that's quite important. Now as well we have the speed limitation for the gear, and we have the procedure. So we will look at it when we use the landing gear. Okay, so we've got another instruction here. FSiPanel 001, hold as published. When gear is down and locked and you're ready for the approach, descend to 2,600 feet. All right, so now the weather seems to be okay. ATC is informed that we have a problem. So now we will try to lower the landing gear. So if for the training exercise, if I go gear down now, there is no pressure, no hydraulic pressure. So you can see that unfortunately nothing is happening at all. So that's why we have to use the alternate. So we're entering the hole, the lights are set. So let's bring the gear up as it was. This was for the training purposes. And let's go for the manual gear extension. So let's have a look at this. Manual gear extension handles affected gear pull. So for us, all the gears are blocked. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's see how I can find that from maybe from here. I need to move the, I have to go to the observer seat, sorry. The observer seat should do. All right, I'm in the observer seat and I will open that panel. When you open that panel, remember never to close it. When we open that panel, we cut the hydraulic line. So for some checklist, like landing gear lever is stuck in the up position, you cannot bring it down, but you have hydraulic pressure. We will lower the gear using that technique. But then if you close that panel, or if somebody hits it with turbulence, then the pressure is restored and your landing gear will go up. So be very careful. Leave the door open. So now I will pull the 3 handles, and now we're gonna monitor what's happening. We can see that the gear seems to be going down. We have one left. Gear, gear, gear. Now I can do a time check of 15 seconds as per the checklist. And then we will put our landing gear lever to down. Right, gear down. And we have 3 greens. So I will be ready for the approach. So I will descend 2,600 feet as per ATC instruction. So let's go vertical speed and we start descend. 1,000 feet in the holding, that's good enough. All right, so this is done. Landing gear indicator light are done, and this is the end of the checklist. Perfect. So now we are descending 2,600 feet, turning inbound in the hold. So that will be 0.96. $1,000 to level off. Okay, FSI 001, reduce speed 180 knots, expect approach clearance shortly. Alright, so 180 knots, so flaps 1, and I will bug 1. Flaps 1 green light, I will go flaps 5, and now I can reduce my speed to 180 knots. One thing as well on the 737, always make sure the flaps are moving. If the flaps are stuck, you will still get the 5 bug, even though your flaps are stuck at up. So that's a trap as well on the 737. Be careful on that. Alt acquired. Perfect. Altitude hold. We are turning inbound. Maybe we will get the approach clearance. For now, we are not cleared. So I will just continue as as cleared, so 180 knots and in the holding pattern. Nothing to be done here. Hopefully we will get the approach clearance very soon. So 180 knots and approaching now Avaki. If we don't get approach clearance, we do another turn. And if we get approach clearance, then we have to be careful which mode we are going to use. And we will be quick. Now the FMC is programmed for, okay, FSI 001, leave the hold, clear RNAV. So in my FMC, I need to go hold, exit, hold, execute. That's the first thing to be done. Now I need to descend. So always a good idea to go in the 7.3 on the cruise page there. In the cruise page and put 2600. All right. And now, if I go VNAV, what we want to see is VNAV path. If you see anything else than VNAV path, something is wrong. Now we need to select a lower altitude. So the next one is 1700 feet at lesson. We have VNAV path, so aircraft should start descending very soon. So I will acknowledge that. I'm clear for the approach. Perfect. Here we go. Approaching Avaki. Now you will see the descent. This is my deviation. We are 2600. We are passing Avaki. In front of us we have the runway. Perfect. So now we expect the 7.3 to start descent. So let's see if that's correctly modeled by iFly. It seems that it's working perfectly well. So it's descending. This is my final approach fix. By there I should be fully configured. So what is a good thing to do is when you reach 2 miles before that lessor, you will go gear down. We already have gear down, and you will go flaps 15. If you are flying in LNAV, VNAV, the window is blank, so the speed is managed by the FMC. So now if I go flaps 15, you will see that the speed will drop to bug 15. Now what is very important, arm the speed brake, and we do the flow. So the lights and the engine start to continuous. Perfect. Once we reach 1700, we know that we're gonna make it. We will set our minimum altitude there, otherwise the aircraft will level off. If you forget and you level off, not a big deal. You will see VNAV alt again, change the altitude and go back in VNAV. So now I will put 800 feet. And as we are approaching our final approach fix, I will go flaps 30. Now we can go landing checklist. So landing checklist, engine start, switches, continuous. Speed brake is arm, landing gear is down, and flaps 30, green light. Good, so we are descending. Now what do we get? FSI 001, clear to land 10, wind 070 at 14, runway wet. All right, we are clear to land. So now what you could do is check always your distance, DME, and the altitude with your chart, and now set your missed approach altitude 4,000 feet. When you do that, always cross-check that you are still in VNAV path descending. The runway is in front of me. Landing checklist is completed. We are ready, and we are all set for landing. So here, after landing, we will go to the end of the runway, and we have to do a 180 to taxi the airplane probably. So we should have nose wheel steering. We have completed all the checklist. Only one is remaining, and that is this one here, which is the landing checklist here. Engine start, switches continuous, speed brake arm, landing gear down, and flaps green lights, 30 green lights, all set. So 1,000 feet, stabilized, runway in sight, everything looks good. So now I will take auto throttle off and autopilot off. Minimum, landing. Try to go on the PAPI now, and I don't need my flight director anymore. That is giving me some confusion. So if you have any confusion with the flight director, just turn it off. Here we go. This airport is very nice for the people watching. That's a beautiful place to spot the aircraft. All right, 400 feet. 300. Okay, on the PAPI. My speed is 140 knots. Final approach speed looks good.
100, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Okay, landed, reverses, and manual braking. Alright, my nose wheel steering is working perfectly well. 60 knots. Okay, FSI 001 backtrack is approved. Taxi stand Alpha 3 via Charlie. Alright, so it's a 737. I can use that to turn. I have been cleared for the turn, so we'll try it right there. Acknowledge ATC instruction, and let's go for the turn. So now you can do the after landing flow. You can use FSiPanel for this. The only thing you need to do is retract one notch of flaps. And now I just did it. The after landing flow is on the way. You can see that the flaps are moving up. All the lights will be set as required, and the APU will be started. Alright, so that was quite interesting. Leave your comments below, guys, and I'll be pleased to answer any of your comments. And I forgot to tell you something, and this is nice. If you're still here, that's a good thing for you, because we have that promotion right now for around a week. If you use that coupon iFly Max8 in our FSiPanel store, you can go ahead and have a 20% off discount on the advanced edition of FSiPanel 2020 for P3D. That will let you fly your Max8 with FSiPanel. So if you want to use that promotion, go ahead and copy that code iFly Max8 in the FSiPanel store. Good, so we have been clear via Alpha 3 to get via Charlie to Alpha 3, so let's do that now. See the after landing flow. We've got the good lights off. We have the probit to off. The APU is running. The flaps have been moved up, and if I go down here, I can see that my transponder has been turned to transponder. So everything looks good. We just need to go now to the gate, and that will be the end of our flight. It's a long video. I'm not used to do that long video, but I wanted to show you the complete scenario for those of you that are learning the 737 and you want to see the procedures. If you want more of those video, full length video, or maybe even live stream, just put it in the comment, and I will probably start to do live stream with demonstrations of approaches, failures, and whatever the community request. All right, we are approaching Charlie. We will vacate the runway right there. By the way, I show you the after landing flow and the lights were turned off. This is like a generic way after landing flow. Of course, if you are backtracking the runway like this, you will keep your lights on. You will keep your landing lights and your strobe lights on for better visibility should an aircraft come on final approach. Here FSiPanel is just doing a generic after landing flow, so keep in mind. All right, Alpha 3 is the third gate, the third bridge over there. So we are Alpha 1, Alpha 2, Alpha 3, so we just continue straight ahead. and we will park right there in front on Alpha 3, and then we will shut down our engines. And of course request engineers to show up quickly to fix that aircraft. I don't think they can fix that aircraft, so we're gonna enjoy some time off at the beach, probably a couple of days. All right, at that stage I will tell my first officer to turn off the light, the taxi light, and now we will try something. I forgot to ask GS6. Okay, if we can park Alpha 3, no, and that's it. So we have Alpha 3 ready for us. That's something I could have prepared even during the approach, but after landing is good enough. So let's go for Alpha 3. Very good. So I guess the iFly 737 Max 8 performed quite well. All the system worked as expected. So I'm quite pleased with that aircraft. She's very nice. Beautiful job by iFly. And here we go. So let's be careful with that guy here, otherwise he will not be happy. Oh, you want me to go right a little bit? Okay. Right, still? Okay. Quite sensitive. Okay, forward. I'm coming. Stand by. I'm reaching the point here, yeah. A bit more. All right. Cut the engine. Okay. Parking brake set. Now we will ask my first officer to put the APU generator on the bus. Done. At this stage I can shut down the engines. And once the engines are shut down, we have the shutdown flow. Shutdown flow, we start with the anti-collision light. Then the seatbelt sign goes to off. Then again the last 4 pieces, so fuel pumps except one as we are on the APU. Then if we continue there, the fasten seatbelt sign is off. We will turn off the electrical pump here for the remaining hydraulic, whatever we have left, and then we want to give air to the passengers. So what I need to do is open the isolation valve on ground and open as well the APU air. As you can see now, my pack are getting some air. And finally, turn off your transponder. Transponder is right there. We turn off the transponder too. And this is completed. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. We reached our destinations. We didn't screw it up. If you have any question or comment, I will be so pleased to answer, and please subscribe to the channel. That will help me produce more and more video for you. Thank you again for watching, and as always, stay safe and safe landing. Bye bye.